Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of SmugMug Live. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you are in the world. This is episode 101 of SmugMug Live, so thank you for being here. As always, SmugMug Live is brought to you by SmugMug and Flickr. If you're looking for an incredible place to host your photographic website, for a wonderful place to store and manage your images in the cloud, which we'll be talking more about today, or if you're looking for an excellent place to have an e-commerce solution to sell your images to your customers and clients, then please check out everything we do here at smugmug.com. Or if you are looking to be part of the world's best photo community, then please head over to flickr.com and check out everything we do there. So episode 101 today, we're going to be talking all about our latest product launch, our new service called SmugMug Source, which we are absolutely thrilled to talk about. But before we get started, I can see a few of you in the chat window there. Please head over into our live chat window, give yourself a shout out, let us know what part of the world you're joining us from. It's always nice to see who's here live with us. At the moment, we have Ernest here. He's from New Jersey in the house. Welcome, Ernest, from New Jersey. Mike Angel is here from Wales, here on the mountain with my dog, joining us remotely by the sounds of it. Thank you so much. James is here from Canyon Lake. Hi, James. Moro join us from Ljubljana in Slovenia. Thank you, Moro, for being here. Randy's back with us again this week. Hi, Randy. Good to see you. Porstein is joining us from Reykjavik in Iceland. Beautiful part of the world. Gary is with us. Looks around for some Dalmatians. Okay. Tim Allen Rollinson is joining us from Kenya again. Hi, Tim. Good to see you. But there's someone else here in the house. I'm not doing the show on my own today, as typical. I have someone sharing the time with me, and it's my good colleague and dear friend, Evan. Hi, Evan. How are you?
Hello, my friend. I'm well. How are you? We were
Good,
just
good.
talking about how warm it is for you over there where you are.
Yeah, it's very, very hot here in Scotland for us in Scotland. It's hot, so I'm sweating a little bit, but I'm not going to get into temperatures because you'll just laugh at me because it's not hot at all. So it's probably hotter in San Francisco at the moment, I am assuming.
Oh, probably always.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably always. Unless that fog rolls in, unless Carol
Yeah,
rolls in and cools everything down. So let me do a quick introduction to Evan. Evan is our product manager at SmugMug, or one of our product managers at SmugMug, and is the lead product manager behind our latest launch, SmugMug Source. It's been an exciting week this week, right, Evan?
It has been exciting. Yeah, I mean, we launched SmugMug Source on Monday of this week, and we've just been super excited to see all of the feedback coming in and people excited to use the functionality. So it's been great.
Yeah, I'm getting lots of chat in the comments in the chat about how hot it is in other parts of the world. 96 in New Jersey.
Wow.
So it's 24 degrees Celsius here in Scotland, which is hot for us, which I think is only about 72 Fahrenheit. So yeah, I've got nothing to complain about. And I'm sure New Jersey's probably more humid than it is here as well, for sure. Hey Jack, thanks for joining us. Joining us from Kansas City. Appreciate it. Dawn says hola. Hola, Dawn. Thank you for joining us. So we're here to talk about SmugMug Source. So for those of you that don't know, Evan, how would you describe SmugMug Source, the new service we've just launched?
Yeah, well, I mean, SmugMug Source is exciting because it's really what we would call an all-in-one management solution for all of your photography content. This is something that we've heard a lot about from photographers for quite a while. Most are already storing and managing and sharing and collaborating around their photography on SmugMug via JPEG form typically. But, there's obviously a need to protect and also be able to bring your raw files into the equation as well on SmugMug. And so that's really what it's all about. It's about being able to manage all of your raw content in addition to everything else you're already using on SmugMug. And we've got some other really exciting functionality in there as well, namely some improved search functionality that I think is really going to improve the experience around managing and discovering your content on SmugMug as well.
Yeah, that's great. So what I think we'll do today is we'll talk about RAW. I mean, everybody's familiar with what a RAW file is, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. But as you said, our customers have been asking us, we want them, they say store their images, their RAW files on SmugMug, but we've gone beyond that. This isn't storage. This is RAW file management, and we want to give you some insight into some of that today. We want to talk about the ins and outs of how it actually happens. So we'll demonstrate and give you a little look at what it looks like on your SmugMug site when you upload a RAW file. We'll talk about pricing. We'll talk about some of the other things, as you mentioned, this kind of search capabilities, but we'll also maybe pick your brains a little bit about where we're at just now, but where we're going to go with this product. And then, of course, if you are watching and you have any questions today, then please post that question in the chat window. Just start your question with the word question. That way I'll find it in the chat, and we'll do a little Q&A at the end with Evan as well, and I'll do a little demo before the end of uploading some RAWs, and hopefully all the demos work live on the show. Evan, you know what it's like when you try to demo something live. There's always something.
Absolutely.
Something happens. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to play this little video that we put together. This is our kind of promo video for people that have not seen this, and then we'll get into the conversation. Cool, right. That little video gives you a little insight into what we're going to be talking about today with our new SmugMug Source service. Of course, at any point, if you want to find out more, you can, of course, head over to smugmug.com, and at smugmug.com you'll find the SmugMug Source pages where you can find out all the information you need to know about SmugMug Source. So, yeah, head over to smugmug.com and hit that SmugMug Source tab at the top there if you want to find out more, or stay tuned for the rest of this episode and ask your questions as we go. So let's talk about the raw files themselves. What can people upload? What is the format? And I'm asking these questions, obviously I know, but I'm gonna be the voice of the voice of the audience and ask you, Evan, what kind of files can people upload to SmugMug Source?
Sure. Sure. Well, we're really focused on the raw files here. So, we're really happy that we're able to support more raw files than I could even list for you verbally here. I mean, all of the major camera manufacturers out there, and all the different models of cameras that I can really think of off the top of my head, we support. So we're talking Sony, we're talking, of course, Canon and Nikon, Fuji. We've even got support for other things, like Leica and Hasselblad and et cetera. So really anything that you're shooting on, we very more than likely support it. And what's cool as well is that we also support sidecar files. So those are really important, as you know, Alastair, because when you're dealing with editing your raw files, that information is very important, and that's part of being able to make sure if you ever need to, let's say, recover a file from SmugMug that you've stored here, you have that editing metadata as well, and you can repopulate that into your your Lightroom catalog, let's say. So.
Yeah, all the file types you would expect. I'm sure there might be some obscure raw file type out there, but we look forward to someone getting in touch and letting us know. But yeah, all the file types, as you said, DNG files. So DNG files, which like the Leica raw files are DNG. We also support TIFF files on Source. Mm-hmm. So if you generate a TIFF file from your work, we will support them. But you highlighted there the sidecar files as well. So your XMP files or many other types of sidecar files, the sidecar files that are embedded in DNGs are supported, that type of stuff. So it really is the ability to manage your raw assets. Question actually came in, I might as well jump to it because it's relevant. Any Olympus raw file support?
Yeah, I believe so. It'd be great if actually you could, if there's any questions about formats, we could pop those in the chat here as well, and we could take a look. But always we can reference that against the list that we have publicly posted as well. It's quite an extensive list. So
yeah, I know when we first started building Source. As many of you watching this channel know, we're all photographers. Well, we're not all photographers, but we're all very passionate about photography, and many of us are photographers. And the first thing we did was go around all our staff saying, right, give us all your raw files of every format you can possibly think, including some real old ones as well. So we've done a lot of due diligence, but there's probably some out there that we can always look to add in the future, because the team is only just getting started. So all those different file types. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefit of it being file management and not just storage, right? We're not promoting this or talking about this as somewhere to dump your raw files and forget about them like a backup. I mean, this is proper file management, and a lot of that will become very clear when I do a demo. But that's the approach your whole team took to building this, right, Evan?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the things that we started out, the mindset we had when we started out very early on was that this is not just a storage feature, as you mentioned, Alastair. If we take a look at a service, that a lot of you might be utilizing, like a typical data backup plan, one of the big downsides with those typically that we would see, right, is that we might not have that visual aspect of the raw experience. A lot of times those might just be listed in there like it would be on your file drive, like an actual file icon, as opposed to an actual, visual image that you would like to see, right? You want to be able to see the photo itself. And so that's something that's really powerful, because when you upload a raw file to SmugMug, if you don't provide, your own JPEG, let's say an edited JPEG version of that image, we'll create one for you. And so you'll be able to at all times have a very visual experience when you're managing your raw files.
Yeah, and I think the visual side of it is something that people are going to love. And I think that's a great segue to jump over to my desktop and let people who haven't seen it in action yet have a little look. So I'm going to head over to my SmugMug account, and I already have opened here a demo gallery. Those of you that have been here for many episodes, you've seen me demoing how to use our organizer and how to manage your files. But typically we were talking about JPEGs. But now the eagle eye amongst you will already be able to tell that these are raw files, because we have this little indicator on the the thumbnail that this is a raw file. If I zoom in there, you'll see that this has a little badge that says RAF. It's not the Royal Air Force. It is in fact a Fujifilm raw file. Both Evan and I happen to shoot Fujifilm.
Conveniently, right?
Conveniently, right? So here I can see that these are raw files, but I can see them. I can see the image. I've got them here as square crops, but if I go up here to the tab, I can make them full ratio. So it's great to see those images visually, and as you say, not just a list of file names that, you know, with a typical backup system, it's almost something you never want to use, right? You back up your images somewhere and you store them, and you hope you never have to go get them.
That's right.
And if you do, it is a pain, because it's, you know, how do you find the files that are missing? Here, these act just like any other image that you would upload to your SmugMug account. So
That's right. It's meant to be extremely seamless, really. I mean, there's no difference in experience when you're using SmugMug Source as part of your overall SmugMug account. You know, you're using the same tools you've already used that you're hopefully familiar with. You're just dropping in these new file types, and we take care of the rest, really. So,
yeah. So I was gonna do questions at the end, but seeing as there's some that are relevant, I'm going to jump to it. So
sure.
Ernest asks, do I, as the user, have to create the raw gallery? Well, the gallery is just like any other gallery on SmugMug. You can put your raw files wherever you want. You can create the gallery. You could create an auto-upload watch gallery, which I'll show in a few moments. But yeah, you can put these raw files anywhere you want. So for instance, here I have this, I've called it SmugMug Source demonstration folder. In there I have two galleries. If I zoom in there, you'll see one says raw files, which has some images in it. I have an empty gallery here called raw image gallery. So if I click on there, you'll see this gallery is empty. It's just one I've created. But what I wanted to show is with these raw files, they act just like any other image on your SmugMug account. I could drag this image and I could move it or collect it. Watch previous episodes if you don't know what collecting is. But if I hit move, that will move that raw file to that other gallery. So I really can manage how and where I want these raw files, what galleries I want them in. So Ernest, you can create as many galleries as you want. You can, you know, put them in folders. You can have all the privacy settings and stuff on these galleries. So it really just acts like any other file that you've previously experienced uploading to SmugMug. And I think that is one of the killer features about what we've done with Source, is made it absolutely seamless. So let's have a little look at some of these files, because I wanted to point out some of the badging we've had here. So I've mentioned that we show a badge that shows that it's a raw file. Does it always show the raw format type? So here it says RAF. Does it always show like DNG or CR2 or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So whatever raw files you have stored there will show the file type for you. So not only do you know that there's a raw file there, but also, of course, specifically what type it is. And there's a couple of cool places in your account that you can actually get that information. You know, as you're showing here on screen, Alastair, that you're in the Organize tool, but there's also the Photos section that you can access at the top of your account there as well. And that's another great way to, you know, engage with your files and search, and you'll see the badges there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to concentrate on the organizer today, though, because
of course,
what I wanted to showcase was, let's see if I go back into the raw files gallery. I wanted to showcase what happens with what we're calling associated files. So if I hover over this image here, can I zoom in on it? Yeah, if I hover over this image here, there's some images of New York. You'll see here that there is a 48 megabyte RAF file, and there's a almost 4 megabyte JPEG file. That JPEG, I know basically because of the size of that JPEG, that's what we're calling a generated JPEG on our end, that we're using to allow people to preview that image, whether it be here in the organizer or on a gallery, in our apps, on our Apple TV app, wherever it may be. We've created that JPEG from the raw file and we've created a size here that allows you to view that image on basically any size device, right, Evan?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier. One of the cool things that, about SmugMug is that we truly believe that the photo's everything. Not to be trite, but so what we do is we make sure that we generate not only visual copies of your RAWs, as I mentioned before, but we make them as big as possible so that when you or any of your visitors are actually viewing those photos on any device, even extremely high resolution monitors, 5K and such, you're actually getting a crystal clear image there. So we actually dynamically generate, multiple sizes of every image so that it's optimized for every device.
Yeah, and not just optimized for excellent viewing, but also optimized for speed of delivery. When people are
absolutely
viewing your image, wherever they are, we will serve the right size image for that device. So that's an example of a raw file that I've just uploaded, the straight raw file, and we've generated that JPEG for preview. I think if I hover over, let's see if this one works. I'm trying to find one that I uploaded. Well, I can see one that's pretty obvious. Let's move this one over here. Hopefully it's pretty obvious on the screen that this image doesn't look like the other two below it. Typically with a raw file, raw files are pretty flat, right? Just a straight raw file that's not been edited, doesn't have, a JPEG associated with it. It's going to be pretty flat because it has that entire dynamic range to allow us to then go in and manipulate all the data. But this image here looks a little bit different. And if I hover over it, let's see if that works. There we go. I'll zoom in as well. If I hover over this one, you'll see that, there we go. You'll see that there's a 16 megabyte JPEG here. There's the original raw file. There's also an XMP file uploaded here. We're just showing one thumbnail, but here we actually have three files. We have the raw file itself, we have the XMP file, which probably comes from my Lightroom editing of this image, and then the generated JPEG that I've generated in Lightroom. So we have all those three kind of stacked together there as what we call associated files, yeah?
Yeah, and I'd love to dive into that just a little bit here for a second, because that's a really important concept. We were talking about how powerful this is as a management feature, not just as an archiving or a storage feature. And we really feel, this is one of those ways in which management gets much simpler, hopefully, for you as the photographer, because instead of having, let's say potentially on your hard drive locally, a cluttered folder full of all of these different file types, your edited JPEGs, your sidecar XMP files, your RAW files. If you put all of those files onto SmugMug, our premise here is that what you really care about is the image, right? This beautiful image that Alastair is showing on screen is really what you want to see when you're managing that file. But those three files, the JPEG, the RAF, and the XMP, are associated with it, and we do that association automatically. So all three of those files are stored on SmugMug completely in their original state. That RAF file is completely the original RAW file, but what you're seeing in this case is that nicely edited JPEG that Alastair provided it along with it. And all three of those are just associated into one asset, as we would call it, on SmugMug, so that it's, less clutter, easier to manage, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm not sure how nicely it was edited, but I'll take it. I'll take it as a compliment.
Looks good to me.
Better than the others. Actually, what I want to do here is, of course, with any of these assets, if you double click these assets, you're taken to our Lightbox experience, where you can see the image big and beautiful. And of course, if you click on the photo details tab here, you're going to get a whole bunch of information. And one of the new parts that people will not have seen before if they haven't used Source yet is this section here that says associated files. And so here, again, in the photo details, I'm seeing the JPEG that I've uploaded, the original RAW file, and the XMP file. And I know if I download this from the organizer, I'm going to get all three of those back, pixel for pixel, exactly as I uploaded them.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So, as you can see here, we're showing even the addition of the file name there. We always want to make it clear to you, that we have all of those files there, and you can see even by the file size that those are the distinctions there that show you like that RAF is actually that RAF, not just from the file name, but from the size of it. And like you said, when you download those, you get all those back. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. There was also, let me see if I can zoom back out. There was a question came in here. Mihango, I apologise if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. I think it's a wonderful Welsh name, but I might be butchering it. But question, how is keywording and metadata handled, lads? Well, I'm delighted to say, as you can probably see here, whenever you upload any image to SmugMug, whether it be a JPEG or now whether it be a RAW file, any metadata and keywording that is you have already got in that file stays with that file. It literally is the exact piece of data that you uploaded is there. So in this example, you can see that I have basic camera info, but I have all the metadata. Like I even know if the flash went off. I know, you know, all the things I need to do. Every piece of metadata is there that is associated with that file. We don't strip out any metadata. We don't strip anything from any file that's ever uploaded to SmugMug. If you have GPS data, those coordinates are going to be there. So again, with our incredible search, you could search by location. You could use our map features to search for these images. So yeah, all that information is there. Oh, sorry, I zoomed in there. You can actually enhance that as well. If you add keywording to a file, it'll stay with it. So if you use something like Lightroom to add keywording to it, that will come with it. I think I've demonstrated in previous episodes our own keywording capabilities within our own tools within the organizer. So you are completely sorted when it comes to metadata. Anything
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that was great recap, spot on. You know, one other cool thing that I think might be worth calling out for some folks that might not be aware of this is if you have certain metadata on your files that you've added locally, let's say in Lightroom, for instance, SmugMug will automatically harness a lot of that and apply that for you into your gallery. So key examples would be like titles and captions. Those are displayed on your photos in SmugMug as well. And if you have those metadata fields filled out already and upload those, we'll just automatically utilize that, and you won't have to fill out those titles and captions, so your viewers can see that information.
Yeah, yeah, it's got all the power of everything you've experienced before with SmugMug, just associated with RAW files. Right, what I think I'm going to do is just upload a RAW file and let people see that it is literally no different. So if I go back to this gallery that has no images in it, I can hit the big upload button. I could drag and drop images on here, but let's hit the upload. As I say, I could drag images here, but let's just go browse my computer. Hopefully you see the finder. I know I happily put a RAW file here earlier, so I could quickly find it. So let's hit upload, and it's a big file, so it's going to take a little bit of time to upload, especially because at the moment I'm also live streaming on this bandwidth as well. So we're just about to find out just how good my bandwidth is if this file uploads and you know, the stream doesn't fail. So if we all disappear, we know the my bandwidth is struggling. But it's just one file, but it is a large RAW file that I'm uploading. So that file is on its way to that account, but you'll see here that the browser, the uploading experience is exactly the same as uploading a JPEG. There is no difference. It has all the facilities from making sure there's no duplicates, you know, uploading whole folders and getting the folder structure, all that type of stuff, right, Evan? There's no difference from uploading on the web.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, everything is exactly the same. So, you know, as we touched on earlier, you know, the same galleries, the same folders that you're otherwise creating to manage and organize your content on SmugMug, you utilize those same things, and you can just upload your raw files right in there. And we'll get to it in a bit, I'm sure, but we also have all our different apps and such as well.
That's next.
Yep. So
we'll look at them for sure. But here we have this raw file that's just went up. We've got the raw file itself. We've got the generated JPEG, so we can preview it. Obviously, it's a pretty flat uninspiring time-lapse, not time-lapse, long exposure image.
Uninspiring, and 10 times better than anything I've ever shot.
Well, it obviously needs work, but it's a raw file, right?
Yeah.
This is the wonderful St. Monans up in Fife in Scotland. Very popular photo destination. If you head over to my Flickr account, you'll see the processed version of this. Plug for my Flickr account there. So we've got that image up there, and again, I can do anything with it. I can move it, I can sort it, I can collect it. So if you've seen my episode where I talk about collecting images, this is where you can have an original image in one gallery, but have, for want of a better word, virtual copies of it in other galleries where you've collected it, so that you don't have to upload it to multiple galleries. All that tooling, all works with raw files as well. So no difference. You shouldn't see any difference in uploading RAWs than you've experienced with uploading your JPEGs. A little thank you from Hengel, who says, "No worries, good enough. That is covered." Cheers. Yes, it was Lightroom local fields I was thinking about. Yeah, so anything you put in Lightroom is going to travel with it, and we will have a little look at our Lightroom plugin in a moment. So you mentioned there about our apps. So let's have a little look at our apps and have a little chat about our apps. And when we talk about apps, we talk about the Lightroom plugin app, which I've done a whole episode about, the Lightroom plugin. So that was, if I remember right, I think that was episode 6. So a long time ago. Obviously, it doesn't talk about RAW because back in episode 6 we hadn't launched Source yet. So maybe I have to do a new one of those. But the Lightroom plugin, our mobile apps, I won't demonstrate that today. But if you've got your SmugMug app on your Android or mobile phone, then you can upload straight from your mobile app to your SmugMug account. You can have auto uploading on your mobile devices, and of course now mobile devices are taking RAW files.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, especially, either Android or iPhone, and I know iPhone has fairly recently come out with their new Pro RAW functionality, especially on some of the later devices. And, so all that's supported as well. And so you can absolutely upload RAWs from your phone.
Yep. I love taking RAWs on my phone now. I'm a big fan of Halide, the app as well, which you can use that app to take RAW files. So you've got potentially got DNG files on your device. Pro RAW with Apple, we'll take all that, and it's great that we can take all that because those can fill up your phone very, very quickly with your they're big
Absolutely.
files. They're
yes,
big files.
Extremely. Yeah. Yep.
And then the other apps we have are our desktop uploaders. So for Windows and for Mac, we have our own app which you can download from the app stores. That again I've demonstrated on previous episodes, but let's have a little look at I'm on a Mac, so we'll have a look at our Mac uploader. I think if I have it here, there we go, Smuggy there, we'll open that up. So it's a very simple interface, but this is a really powerful way to upload your images. Do you want to talk a little bit about the uploader, Evan?
Yeah, I'd love to, because to be honest, Alastair, this is really one of the most exciting things. I can explain to you all about SmugMug Source. So, we've made a lot of updates to our desktop apps here, both on Mac and Windows, that really provide a powerful experience getting your RAW files onto SmugMug. So let's talk about some of that functionality. One of the things that you have available in the Mac app here is what we call folder watching, which is essentially another way to automatically upload your files to SmugMug. So really what this entails is you're just going to tell our app to watch a folder, or it can be multiple folders as well, on your hard drive. And anytime you add content to that folder, well, it'll be uploaded automatically. So it really takes a lot of the work and burden, I would say, out of, having to go in each time manually and add new content to galleries in your SmugMug account. If you just come home from a shoot and you want to empty your card into your folder, they can be uploaded automatically as quickly as that. So.
Yeah, so I've actually set up a watch folder here. This if I zoom in, it won't let me zoom in on the app, unfortunately. But you can see, hopefully you can see here, it says auto upload, and there's a watch folder called Source Auto Upload. If I go to my Finder, which hopefully will pop up. Find it in all these tabs. So I have this folder here, source auto upload. That is my watch folder. As Evan said, you can have as many of those as you want. You can call them whatever you want. And in here, it has one file. And you can see here, if I go to, there's a folder in my organizer called automatic Mac OS upload. So that is where I will find my watch folders. If I open that up, here's the watch folder. So this is where that folder is going to deposit anything I drop into that folder. So again, let's go back to the app. Let's go to Finder. Come on, you can do it. So if I'm in Finder, and all I have to do is drop another image into this folder. So hopefully you can see this. I'm just going to drag that raw file we used earlier. So here's this raw file. I'm going to drag that and drop it into that watched folder. And there you go. It's already uploading. So I may have done that wrong because it says it's finished, but it shouldn't be finished. I think I uploaded that one earlier. Is that maybe what I've done, Evan? Let's drag another one in there because that demonstration didn't work the way I was expecting it to. There's always a complication. Let's see if I can find another raw file. Let me go here while I dive through my my Finder. Evan, you could also maybe talk, while I'm looking for another raw file, you can maybe talk about, I think on the Windows especially, how we manage bandwidth with the app as well.
Yeah, so on our Windows app currently, this is something that we've added fairly recently. You know, we recognize one of the challenges, frankly, of getting your raw files onto SmugMug or any cloud provider really is bandwidth and the time it can take to upload such large files. And especially with all of us nowadays, I think a lot of us still are at home. You can see I'm here at home, so we're using a lot of our internet bandwidth throughout the day, whether it's on Zoom meetings similar to this or other things work related. It can be beneficial to have more control over how much bandwidth is being utilized by SmugMug when it's uploading files, right? And so you can actually set a custom limit in the Windows app to say how much of your internet bandwidth you'd actually like to use at any given time to dedicate to uploading raw files, so that it does, as Alastair was saying earlier, he was worried uploading raw files might crash the stream, but thankfully it didn't. But that feature is intended to give you more flexibility there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whenever I'm demonstrating stuff, a lot of times I'm logged in as with kind of what we would kind of engineering access and stuff. So sometimes I have to remember what the user experience would be like and demonstrate that. So here's back here on the Finder. I've got a different file now. So this image here, again, if I drag that and let it go and add that to that watch folder, now you can see it's automatically uploading that image in the app without me asking it to upload. It knows as soon as something new comes into that watch folder, then it's going to start uploading that image. And you could come back from a shoot and just dump a whole card's worth of stuff in there and let the app do its thing. And is there any limit on how many watch folders you can have?
That's a good question. I'm not aware of a limit. We do generally have a limit on folders on SmugMug where, you can have 5,000 folders inside a single folder. So you can do the math, or maybe you can't. I can't. You can think about how many permutations or options that gives you, but if there's really almost effectively no limit. And another cool tip I would have for that auto uploading process via the desktop app there is, especially if you have like a Lightroom centrally that you export files from Lightroom, or that you generally store to use with Lightroom, you can have that be the watch folder as well. Yeah. So that, if you're a native Lightroom user, whatever you're doing in that folder is also automatically just getting uploaded to SmugMug. So
there's lots of smart workflow ways, which we'll probably learn a lot from our customer base of these cool workflows. So we're excited to hear how people are using them, and I know Evan's team is excited to hear feedback from people as well. Randy's a great follower of the show. Thanks for being back here, Randy. Ask that question: limit size for galleries and folders. On a gallery basis, it's no different from any other SmugMug gallery. 5,000 images per gallery is the maximum you can have. You can have as many galleries as you want. 5,000 is a lot, so it's a lot of images to scroll through. Folders, I think, are we 5 deep in folders? Is that the hierarchy level?
Yeah, I mean, essentially. So, not to get too much into detail, I guess, but you have your top level folder, which is akin to your homepage in your SmugMug account, and then you can have 5 levels of folders within that, and then at the very bottom there, ultimately, you could have another gallery. So there's really 7 levels total if you think about it that way. So
7 levels of hierarchy. So let's head back over here to the watch folder, so you can see it now says that is finished, and if I go to my SmugMug Gallery, you can see indeed that image has appeared on my SmugMug Gallery, and if I double click on that, it'll open it in the Lightbox, slightly different version of I think I spent the whole day on this pier, as you can see from the tide levels. But again, if I click on the photo details, you can see there's now 2 associated files. There's the raw file, which I've just uploaded, the generated one that we've generated from a preview, and then obviously all the details about the shot. Let's see how long the exposure time was. Oh yeah, this isn't a long exposure, that's just a straight one. So yeah, very, very convenient and cool way using our apps, our desktop uploader apps, to upload those images. And of course, they don't have to be watch folders. You can just go create an ordinary gallery, just click the upload button, the plus tab next to uploads. You can upload individual images or create galleries, that type of thing, and they will all appear on your organizer or in your photos section. Anything else you want to say about the desktop uploaders, Evan?
Yeah, there's one other really cool thing I can briefly mention, and that is a scheduled uploading feature. So I alluded to that feature around limiting bandwidth. If that's it's a bit of more of a power feature for some folks, I would say, but something I would use all the time is the scheduled uploading, in that it allows you, let's say, if you want to auto upload a good amount of raw files, let's say overnight, so that you don't have to worry about uploading, again, hogging all of your internet connection during the day. You can tell our apps to just say, upload my content in this folder here from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and it'll take care of it automatically for you. So it's another workflow improvement, really, that we're excited about there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just checking the chat while you're talking, making sure we've covered that. An interesting question from Rusty. I know the answer, but I'll let you answer this one. Evan, Rusty says, so if you remove an image from your local auto upload folder, does it stay on SmugMug?
Yeah, it's a great question. It does currently. Yep. So this is really just an upload process at this point. So anything you add to that folder will be sent to SmugMug, but it doesn't automatically delete anything for you. That's something that we'll probably take a look at in the future, but that's more of a complicated user experience, right? In the sense that we want to make sure that we never delete something when you don't expect it. So there will have to be some type of experience there to always ensure that you're in control of whether something gets removed.
Yeah, I think what I love is we always err on the side of caution currently, that we don't automatically remove things from SmugMug. And bear in mind, with with the ability to have so much storage, that what I've typically done is I've used the auto uploader to upload it, and then moved it into the gallery where I want it to ultimately live. So it's no longer in the auto upload gallery. I can remove them from the app experience. It's just a nice way to flow things up there. So yeah, if you delete it from the local desktop app, it's not going to delete it from your SmugMug account. So yeah, you can be confident there that you don't do anything silly. And if we ever were to change that, Evan and his team will build a user experience that will make that pretty smooth and understandable, but that's the challenge that Evan's team has to face when they build things like that. So great question, appreciate that. Let's talk about the Lightroom plugin, which is a powerful tool. Let me just pull up Lightroom here. I'm not going to do too much about the Lightroom plugin, because if you want to see what the plugin does, head back to episode 6, as I mentioned here. But ultimately what we have is a plugin which lives in the published services of your Lightroom account. And now if you go to the settings of your SmugMug plugin, you'll see that you have a global setting just here that allows you to upload RAW and JPEG. But you can also control that on a gallery by gallery level as well. So again, if I go to an existing gallery, or if I create a gallery, let's just edit this gallery here, you will see the ability here to have upload RAW and JPEG. And Evan, I think this is such a cool feature where it really gives the Lightroom user the ability to control what is going from Lightroom to their SmugMug gallery. You know, in my experience, if I was creating a gallery that I wanted to share with my wedding clients, for instance, I'd probably turn off RAW uploading for that gallery and just make sure it puts the JPEGs. But what you've built here and what your team's built here is the ability to really, nuance exactly on a gallery from gallery level, whether it's RAWs or whether it's RAWs and JPEGs or whether it's just JPEGs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, really, the aim here is just to give total flexibility over individual workflows. Right. So you brought up a perfect example, right? You might have a particular gallery in your SmugMug account that you want to share with certain clients or certain viewers, and you may not want the RAWs to be in that gallery, which is totally fine. And then conversely, right, you might want to actually have specific galleries in your SmugMug account that are specifically for RAW files, and that's also fine. And you can have that granular control in Lightroom using that gallery by gallery functionality that you just demonstrated.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very simple. Just a couple of settings, or if you create a gallery, whether you want to upload RAWs or JPEGs. But again, completely synced. So if you edited your RAW file and it adjusted that XMP file, it's going to ask the app is going to ask to republish those to your SmugMug account so that everything stays in sync. Truly powerful feature that has now just got incredibly awesome by including SmugMug Source. Love it. Right, a little question here from Cody. Thanks for your question, Cody. They ask, do you have the ability to have images available offline for viewing on your phone or laptop and indicate to just have the JPEG available offline instead of downloading the RAW? So I think on our mobile, so obviously on our mobile apps, yes, you can have offline viewing. I don't have my mobile device set up to screen share today, unfortunately. But yeah, if you look at one of our previous episodes, in fact, I'll look at my trusty cheat sheet here that tells me when I spoke about the apps. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, episode 54. If you look at episode 54, I demonstrate our mobile app. If you can tag, there's just a button to turn on whether you can view that gallery offline. And at the moment, we only create a JPEG preview of that image on your phone, right? We're not downloading RAWs back to the phone from the app, correct, Evan?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really honestly by design, because as we touched on briefly earlier, RAW files are large, and so we want to make sure that we're not cluttering up the storage on your local device there for the offline viewing. So you do absolutely have that feature to offline view and get a local copy back of the JPEG version of any file through our mobile apps. Yeah.
And again, I know we'll maybe touch on this later, but I know we're thinking about that user experience on all our devices and on mobile about whether you can get RAW down there. But at the moment, it's just the JPEG preview that you're kind of downloading to your device. And Cody comes back with another great question, and it's actually a question I was going to ask to make sure that we cover this. But since Cody asked it again, I'm going to ask here. They say, does the JPEG preview contribute to your data allotment of your plan? So when you, as I've demonstrated, when you upload a RAW file to SmugMug Source, we generate a JPEG, or if you upload a JPEG with it, we'll showcase that JPEG. But there's some good news about the storage of those files, right, Evan?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a great question. Thanks for that. But it is the case that we do not count those types of JPEG files or what we would call files that you already had full access to under your current SmugMug plan. Those don't count against your storage allotment for SmugMug Source. So really the only things that do that would be those RAW files and those sidecar files.
Yeah, which I think is, is great. If you upload a JPEG, a PNG file, then those are not going to count. The JPEGs that we're generating to let you see those images don't count towards your source storage allowance. It's really just those raw files or a TIFF or the sidecar files, and the sidecar files are tiny typically, so they're not going to add a lot to your storage plan. So that is excellent. Right, let's see if we have any other questions. Gary asks, might have already been talked about any plan or way to work with local software other than Lightroom or our online apps to access them.
Interesting. So we're talking about essentially other integrations, effectively.
Probably Capture
similar
One.
to how we. Yeah. So not at the moment. Right now, Lightroom is the big integration, but that's absolutely something that we're looking at down the road. Is how many other ways can we help all of you get your files onto SmugMug as easily as possible, right? Because we want to make sure that we're meeting you where you're actually using things in your own workflow locally. So I think I would say look forward to more things to come there. But right now, I would say Lightroom is definitely the big one. Yep.
Yeah, I know a lot of our audience are fans of Capture One, and as am I. So we're definitely looking at the future for that. Let's now that we kind of finished demonstrating the apps, let's talk about search. With the introduction of Source, we've also the team's also been working hard on the management, the finding, the search capabilities of SmugMug. So what can you tell us about search?
Well, so coinciding with our release of SmugMug Source here, we're really excited about some new enhancements to our search functionality that, again, aim to take a lot of the work out of your hands. So we talked a little bit earlier about keywording, right? That's historically been a very the primary way in which you're able to essentially tell SmugMug's search to return results that are relevant to you, right? So if I have a picture of my daughter, I might put her name as a keyword on there, or the locations that we've been, and searching for those would return those results. But we've now we're introducing some new enhanced search functionality that is able to use AI to actually look at the content of your photos and return relevant results automatically based on what's there. So it really cuts down a lot of the time having to do some of that keywording, and it really gives you a much richer experience when you're actually trying to discover content within your SmugMug account.
And that's something that's just going to get better and better as that kind of tooling gets built out and the system gets more smart. And yeah, it's quite exciting times to be able to find your images easier and manage them and do things with them. So exciting times ahead.
Absolutely.
And what's the AI side of it? What are we looking at there? What's the intelligent part of it? Is that where we'll be able to search for a tree and it will be able to find pictures of trees without it being in the keywords? Is that the kind of future?
Yeah, effectively, yes, right. So you'll be able with really high confidence. We actually take a look at some of the confidence levels of what we can see object wise, and be able to match on things only and return results with high confidence. So like you said, if a tree or a certain landmark, let's say, is in the file, and I want to find photos from my trip to Paris, right? I want to see the Eiffel Tower photos that I took. Well, then you don't have to do all of that manual work to keyword everything with Eiffel Tower. That type of thing can be done automatically, and so it really speeds things up.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question. BallKD2 asks, a decade ago, many experts did not recommend generating XMP sidecar files if user didn't need them. Always generate an XMP now. An XMP file is going to be or a sidecar file in general is going to be automatically generated by your editing software, whether it's Skylum or Lightroom or Capture One. They're all going to create sidecar files because it's that document of information that tells the software what you've done to that image. So typically that sidecar file is going to be generated automatically by the software. The only exception to that is probably when you're working with a DNG file. the sidecar's not separate. The sidecar file is integrated into the DNG files, which some people find a little bit easier to use. But now with Source, the tracking and the management and keeping all those files together is really, really simple when you're uploading all those images into that one location on Source. So yeah, XMP files, I don't have an issue with them. I need them, so they get generated. Let's talk a little bit about the future. We've just got started. We're only 4 days in to the launch of Source. So this is maybe an unfair question for you and your team, but what maybe can you share with our audience today about the kind of hopes and thoughts of where you might be wanting to go with Source?
Yeah, well, there's obviously when we tend to look at these things, we start with the near term, obviously, right? And what are some of the things that we can follow on with as quickly as possible? And then we also start to look down into the future a little bit longer and see what are some of the bigger things that we can add as an improvement to this type of feature. And I would love to be able to share, I think, a couple of quick examples of each of those types of things. So first off, in the nearer term, right, we want to continually be looking at the types of files we support. We mentioned at the start that we already support a ton of different files, but there's other types of things that we'd continually like to be looking at, whether it's new cameras coming on the market that might be totally cutting edge that no other service supports. We'd like to be able to support those for you and make sure that you can not only store those raw files from those devices on SmugMug, but also see, again, the visual preview of them. Another file format that we don't currently support quite yet that we'd like to add is PSD. We know that's important to a lot of photographers. I use PSDs at times. They're kind of akin to a TIFF in some ways, right? And usually the result of some edited output from Photoshop. So that will be something that we're looking at here on the near horizon. And then going into the longer term, we're going to be looking at more ways to collaborate to improve the ways you and potentially your clients and visitors collaborate around the raw files, whether it's giving you more control over sharing those files with other people, if you so choose, or perhaps even letting others add raw files to your account with your control, such that, if you have like an editing workflow, perhaps where somebody else edits raw files and you need them to grab them from your SmugMug account, or if you have a second shooter, let's say at a wedding, and you'd like them to add those to your SmugMug account. So I think there's a lot of cool things we can do around collaboration.
Indeed, if you are a retoucher and you need to receive those images from your clients, that two-way flow of raw files will be exciting when we get to
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. And I would say
sorry, go ahead.
So go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say, the one other thing too that we're really looking at intensely is better ways to help you get large amounts of content onto SmugMug, because again, we've touched on the fact that is one of the challenges, with generally having to upload large amounts of things over the internet. Speed can be an issue, bandwidth can be an issue. So there's some exciting things on the horizon that we're looking at to partner with some other tech providers in the space to give you options to really quickly and easily, let's say, maybe get an entire library of RAWs onto SmugMug with very little to no effort on your end. So more to come there.
Exciting times. PSDs, I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to hear that that's on our kind of roadmap of planning things. Again, if you want to manage your own PSDs and have them in this great management system and searchable and that type of stuff, but also if you want to hopefully down the line collaborate on those type of things as well, it's going to be great. And another thing for down the future, which comes a great question here from Tim that we can maybe talk about, is if you upload raw files and have these visible, what format is sent to the printer if a viewer places an order? So what is the experience at the moment when it comes to the e-commerce part of SmugMug and Source raw files?
Sure. Well, we talked a lot, right, about how this is a management feature and how it's more than just, storing the files on SmugMug. And one of the real big pieces of functionality that SmugMug offers, especially to selling photographers, is this e-commerce ability to sell prints of your files. And, to answer that question, really what would be sent to the actual lab to be printed is a JPEG. right? But again, as we spoke about earlier, if you provide your own edited JPEG and associate that with the raw file, that'll be utilized for the print. And if you do choose to let customers purchase the images from just your stock raw files, that JPEG preview that we create can also be sent to the lab to be printed as well. And that really, I think, plays well into proof delay workflows, which is a really great feature that a lot of our selling photographers utilize on the platform.
Yeah, I've spoke about proof delay a few times here on the show, and instantly people think, oh, why on earth would I want people to be able to purchase a raw file? And that was my first thought when we were talking for many months about the workflow of working with Source. But the fact that you could allow someone to buy an image, receive that information from our service that someone wants to buy that image, and then have proof delay that allows you to then go edit that image. That could be, just such an incredible way for people to have a great workflow into that. So yeah, that experience, we're still working on a lot of the kind of user interface of that experience, I believe, Evan. So stay tuned for a lot of cool things happening in the e-commerce side of managing your files. Let's see what else we have question-wise. How are you for time, Evan? Are we okay for another couple of minutes?
I'm great for time. Absolutely. Cool. Happy to answer.
Yeah. If you have an auto-upload folder set up, will it upload photos in subfolders as well as the main folder?
Yeah, you all have really good questions. These are
great questions.
These are really good questions.
Especially because we have good answers for them.
Well, yes. So the answer to that is yes. So we talked about how on SmugMug you can have multiple levels of hierarchy. And so that type of thing flows through to the auto-uploading experience via the desktop apps as well. So if you have a folder on your computer that, let's say, has, some layers of folders within that, we will go through and we'll actually we'll try to recreate that hierarchy back on SmugMug. And then once it's on SmugMug, of course, you're free to use the organizer to go and customize that organization. It doesn't always have to match what you had on your computer, but we will automatically carry that through for you.
Yeah, I typically don't demonstrate, dragging a whole folder structure because, doing it live, it's going to take a bunch of time to do that. But yeah, if I had dragged a folder into that watch folder, for want of a better way to describe that, then it's a really fun way to quickly get your images up there and organized. I have to give a shout out to our dear friend Kevin LaRue, who's in the channel from Skylum, and he says mass uploading directly from my Luminar AI catalog would be epic. Yeah, not like you have a vested interest there, Kevin, being from Skylum, but it's great to see you on the channel, and we definitely will continue our conversations. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at all these kind of popular editing softwares, and Skylum's just such a powerful tool now, especially with their Luminar AI and their AI functions that they're bringing to that. So we'll stay tuned. And then let's see, Kevin has another question here. I see the dreaded letters NFT in there. Let me see what he's saying. Could Source in the future ever enable a photographer to offer NFTs via SmugMug? Well, NFTs can be anything, Kevin. They don't have to be raw files. So we definitely are having chats internally about the NFT space, the non-fungible tokens, and how people might want to showcase them, deliver them, allow their clients to view them, create catalogs or museums or whatever. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting space, and there's scope for that, maybe SmugMug or Flickr. Still lots of conversations to go there. But yeah, you keep buying yours and then we'll have that conversation. Or in fact, even better, buy my NFTs, Kevin. That would be much appreciated. Gary says, question, why Source? Is that a Matrix reference?
Matrix reference, yeah. That's actually pretty good. Maybe it is. But no, really what it comes down to is, when we looked at how we could refer to this type of thing, we ultimately went back to the start and we said, what are raw files? Why are they important? Right? Why do we all, at least most of us, right, use them in our photography workflow? And it speaks to the nature of a raw file being really the genesis of photography, right? It's that initial capture from your sensor. It's the source of everything that comes from there, whether you edit it or, share it to other people. So, we really thought it was appropriate as a way to refer to this type of thing.
Yeah, because we were very, very pleased with the name. You know, it's the truth, it's the source, it's the beginning, it's all that, it's the matrix. So yeah. Listen, nobody. There's no more questions here, but nobody's asked the question yet. Nobody has asked the question, which is, how much is it? So I want to be completely transparent today, because you have your SmugMug subscription that you're used to, your SmugMug account, where you know, as a member of SmugMug, you get unlimited storage of your JPEG files. Now we're adding this new source subscription model, which is something that you're going to have to pay as an add-on for. But so let's let people know what they're going to pay. So we have this tier structure, Evan. If you want to maybe talk about the pricing here.
Yeah, well, again, our goal really with this feature in general has always been to try to make things as simple as possible. And so that's really carried through to our pricing structure as well. One of the cool things about it, or I would say probably the coolest thing in my opinion about it, is that, we want to make sure that we're meeting you where you are with your storage. A lot of comparable cloud storage services out there will charge you, let's say, $10 a month for a couple of terabytes of storage, and you pay that every month, whether you're using that full 2 terabytes or not. The premise we have here is that there's different tiers that if you're falling within these in any given month with your storage, you only pay that amount. So if your storage increases over time, the cost will increase, and we have a pretty simple structure of $5 per terabyte, with our cheapest tier there being $3 for up to half a terabyte. But conversely, if for whatever reason your storage needs went down over time, the price would go down too. Yeah. So it's a bit of a dynamic pricing system that really isn't meant to be. You're never paying more than you need to pay.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward and pretty clean, and we're not trying to trap people into higher tiers. Once they get there, it's very very dynamic. If you deleted some of your files, not we would recommend that, but then you're going to move down that tier level. So yeah, go check that out. And as far as physically subscribing, if you can obviously do that at our home pages, but if you are already a SmugMug customer and you head to your account settings, you go to the Me tab, and if you go to your subscription tab, you will see the plan that you're already on. I'm on an employee plan, which you'll probably be on either our basic, our power, our portfolio, or our pro plan. And down here, you'll see SmugMug Source, and if you click on the Learn More, you'll be able to sign up for that. Once you've subscribed, of course, you can subscribe and not pay anything, because if you subscribe and don't upload anything, you're just going to be subscribed, right? Yeah, you're not going to be charged until you upload that first file.
That's true. And, and it's worth adding to there, Alastair, that this is, again, it's something that we charge monthly. But it is in addition to your current SmugMug subscription, so it'll be a separate bill. But the cool thing is that there's really this kind of baked-in free period to try it out, because only at the end of the first month will we take a look at how much you have stored and then map that to the right tier appropriately. But you have 30 days to check it out. And if it's not for you during that time, then there's nothing out of pocket there.
Yeah, and then once you have subscribed, we will show you here in the subscription settings what tier you're on, how much storage you've got with us as far on Source itself when it comes to the raw files, and what you'll be paying on your current tier plan that you're on. So all very, very clear there. Ernest, thank you so much. He says, I've already subscribed. Wonderful.
We appreciate that.
We very
Hope
much
you enjoy
do.
it.
Yeah. Let's see what James is saying. In future shows, are you going to talk about SmugMug as a company, how it is structured, what its relationship with Flickr? Absolutely. I can talk about our relationship with Flickr, as we own Flickr. So we're all part of the one company. There's it's not a relationship, it's our product. So yeah, happy to talk about that. And in fact, going forward, I have been having these discussions, although this is called SmugMug Live and I do tips and tricks on how to use SmugMug. You will frequently see me having guests who are Flickr pros. You'll see me doing live streams with Flickr competitions, because this is, SmugMug, the company that owns smugmug.com and owns Flickr. So we will be bringing more Flickr content here to the channel. And yeah, if you've got suggestions of anything you'd like to see on the Flickr product experience, then I'm open to any of those suggestions. Whatever you as the viewing audience on this channel wants to see, I am almost willing to do anything. So we'll leave it at that. Evan, I think we've covered everything relating to Source. It has been a wonderful week. It's been a month this week already, but whenever there's a new launch, it's something to celebrate, something to be excited. But you know, a huge congratulations to you and the entire company, your team especially, for building such a great feature for our customers that they've been asking for. So yeah, give a huge thanks to the team, and you know, thank you for taking the time in what is a very busy week for you to come join us here on the show and give us your insight into the current and future plans for Source. So thank you, Evan. I appreciate it so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And thanks everybody who joined us today and asked so many great questions. And we just sincerely hope that you enjoy SmugMug Source, and let us know how you're using it and what you'd like to see from it in the future.
Yeah. And before we disappear, of course, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. That way you'll be notified whenever we have another episode here of SmugMug Live, typically coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday, if we can, to give you an insight into everything that's happening here at SmugMug and to inspire and motivate you in this wonderful world of photography. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, give us a thumbs up on the channel, hit that like button. It really does support everything we do here on the channel. Evan, thank you. Lots of shout outs. Thank you, Evan. Really helps understand Source better. Yeah, that was what today was about, was to give you a clear understanding of what we're doing with Source, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it more in the future as we continue to improve it. And Evan, I'm sure you'll come back and join me at some point.
Happy to, anytime.
Yeah, good stuff. Right.
You know where to find me.
Get back to work. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, everybody, wherever you are in the world. As always, stay safe, be kind, look after each other, and we'll see you back here for another episode of SmugMug Live very, very soon. Take care. Bye.